And we have a guest on the Under the Hood show. Chapin Griffith joins us from Shift. And Shannon, why don't you introduce Chapin? You work with this specifically.
We do. As a professional certified auto recycler, one of the benefits we have an opportunity towards is first chance at vehicles that are donated through the Shift Vehicle Donation Program. And Chapin, welcome to the show. And why don't you tell us about your title and your work and what is Shift?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on the show. My name's Chapin. I'm the director of the Shift Vehicle Retirement Initiative. And Shift is about disposing of old vehicles in the most responsible way possible. And so we want to get the word out that you can recycle your vehicle, your old vehicle, in a way that supports our economy and the auto enthusiast industry.
When you look at this subject and you figure people are retiring vehicles, the cool part about this is just understanding the recyclability of a vehicle. And we want to make sure and make sure people understand that. So from your side and from my side of the fence, just touch on that a little bit, what the initiative is all about.
Yeah, so, most people don't know. I certainly didn't know, to be honest, until I joined the company last year, that vehicles, when they're recycled the right way, are 90% recyclable. And so Shift is the only vehicle recycling program in the US that guarantees domestic recycling. And so what you are going to get with that guarantee is that it's going to be recycled with licensed domestic auto recyclers with the highest level of standard and protocols to maximize parts and material harvesting, and that the vehicle and engine can't be resold, which means all of those parts are going to get recycled and go back into supply, or have the opportunity to go back into supply for reuse, which is where it is great for the auto enthusiast market, that on older vehicles, these parts are going to become available and not go to a landfill and not go to export markets and out of the domestic economy.
Russ, at our service center, you repair a lot of vehicles. And tell us the importance for your customers of having those recycled used parts available.
Yeah, so with the cost, that's the biggest thing. The costs are enormous when you're looking at just new parts. And, of course, somebody has to make those. You've got the plant operating costs and all that labor that goes into that. Why not just use a part that's already currently there? It's been on a car working just fine. We say they've been driven to the wreck. Yes, most of them were operating perfectly well, but now we need a source other than brand new parts. Sometimes we can't even get the brand new parts, so we're looking for that alternative. Our customers, of course, they want to save that money, so we use recycled auto parts on a regular basis in our shop in order to keep the customer going, and also just to keep environmentally. It's important. If you just had a pile of all these parts that were from cars that were disabled, they would just stack up forever. They need to be properly recycled and turned back into something new again, or put back into use. They still have a lot of life. They were created for a life, and their life isn't over yet.
And I tell you what, we see that on a regular basis, how important that is. And just coming out here pretty soon, we've been working as a trade association on our end, Chapin, and I think we've asked you guys to help study this also. But actual university studies that are being done right now on the carbon footprint and the recyclability of the parts and the difference it makes when we repurpose and reuse a part. So it's a really, really big deal. So we're excited about this piece of the Shift Retirement Program for sure. Right now we got end-of-life vehicle retirement. The used part marketplace is a huge part of that. Closing the loop on the recycling. I know at our business we always say we dismantle the best and recycle the rest. And talk about your system on how it works to make sure that these vehicles have happened to them, what's supposed to happen to them, and they go to the people they're supposed to go to.
Yeah, for sure. So we bias towards working with auto recycling yards that are CAR certified, which Nordstrom's, you are yourselves. And so those yards are adhering to a very strict protocols on what happens with vehicles. And that is a lot of things on sustainability, which is just good directionally for the environment, but it's also in their practices of how how components come off vehicles, how they're categorized and inventoried. And so that helps keep used parts in the market, which helps lower prices on repairs and different things, as Russ was saying, and it also helps just keep the part supply. The things that can happen with vehicles if they don't go to recycling yards that are upholding the highest standards, there's a significant portion of vehicles, up to 30% it's estimated, that every year are being exported to other countries. And so a lot of these are salvage vehicles that have been in a wreck or, total loss. And so at these wholesale auctions are being sold out of the country. And so you immediately lose the economic opportunity for American and domestic businesses to recycle and process those vehicles, and you're losing all those parts and material. Also, just raw material, right? We are living in an interesting time right now with imports and exports and tariffs and different things, and keeping materials in the U.S. to be used for new part production if the components can't be used directly and they're going to be shredded and brought back to refined down to the raw materials. Keeping that material in the U.S. is important, and Shift is the only program in the U.S. that guarantees that vehicle is going to be recycled domestically.
Well, and I think, too, that when we talked in the past about programs like this where cars were being just taken off the road for whatever reason, there were a lot of people who were worried that, that would be just gone. If I have a vehicle that is an older vehicle, a hobby vehicle, or, to have the parts available or not also can make the difference between whether that car stays on the road or not. So by recycling a car this way, you're also keeping more vehicles useful and reducing that waste itself.
Yeah, Chapin has explained it to me before because we've talked during our trade meetings and things, but they've got a system in place that when people donate, that it's going to mandate or guarantee that these things happen. Chapin, we've got listeners on our show that would probably never own an EV, and we've got people on our show that they have EVs and ICE vehicles, and they've got hybrids. We've got everything in between. Have you got a lot of people that are looking at the Shift program that have just recently purchased an EV vehicle?
Yeah, and it's interesting and a great kind of optionality with the program. The program is not a EV trade up, vehicle recycling program. So we have customers that are moving to just ditching a car because they want to ride their bike and take public transit more. We have customers that are buying an EV, and then we have customers that are buying their next ICE or hybrid vehicle. And the beauty of the program is that we want the old vehicle so that we can recycle it responsibly, and it's not predicated on what you're going to do next necessarily. And so it helps and provides the optionality for consumers without requiring proof of the vehicle that you're going to replace it with, and different restrictions that are in some like federal or state programs, which not to say anything negative about those, but that is kind of the beauty of the Shift program, is that we're going to take your old vehicle, and from an environmental standpoint, older vehicles that aren't as efficient, and especially with the age of emission systems, probably are polluting and putting NOx and smelly stuff like more than new vehicles today. Getting those older vehicles off the road is directionally good, even if you go into a newer ICE vehicle. We've looked at some calculations. I mean, between a 2010 Ford Escape that's a gas engine and a 2025 Ford Escape that's a gas engine, you're still at like 25% improvement in efficiency, and that's not even including a hybrid Escape, or a fully electric vehicle. So it's really awesome that we're just taking the older stuff off the road. We're keeping parts and materials in, which is great for the U.S. economy, and we're helping from a environmental and circular economy standpoint by doing it.
Chapin, as I look at you on the video monitor here, and some of you will just get the audio of this, I see the Shift logo behind you, and I guess where do people go to find that logo and make sure they're in the right place to make their choice to do the donation that they want? What's the process that people use?
Yeah, so we've got a website. You can find us at shiftfortomorrow.org, and that's shift, the number 4, tomorrow.org. Or you could just Google Shift Car Recycling, and you should find us pretty fast. We've got a great logo with the gated shift pattern in there that if you find us on the internet, you'll see, and we're proud of that. And but you can find us on the internet. The intake process is super easy. You put in some information about your vehicle. It's towed away for free and it's picked up within a couple days, basically as fast as you want it. Towed away for free, you don't pay anything. And then what you get in return for the donation is an opportunity for a $500 tax deduction. And then we give back to you a certificate that guarantees that your vehicle was recycled domestically and gives you an estimate of the carbon reduction that comes off if you're interested in the environmental impact. And all that happens within a matter of a couple of weeks. Pick up in a couple of days, and then the process is finished, and you're signed off in a couple of weeks.
And for the person that's donating the car into the program, they need to make sure that they've got the vehicle cleaned out of their personal items and that they've got their proper paperwork in order with title and such to be able to make sure the bank doesn't still have a lien on it and all that kind of stuff. Because I play in this space on the other side, and that's all the things that the process will vet out to make sure that we have a good transaction and everything can work great.
Yeah, that's a good point, Shannon. You're probably very privy to those smaller details. And yeah, our support team helps with titling questions and lost titles and things, and helping like get through that. So none of that is a complete barrier, and we help people work through it. Another great thing about the Shift program, because the vehicle is being recycled, is like if it's got dents and scratches, or if it was rear-ended or hit a pole a month ago, it doesn't matter to us. We don't change the kind of tax write-off opportunity. It doesn't change the fact that it's going to go to the best auto recyclers and get recycled. So we take vehicles in any condition and whether they run or not.
Chapin Griffith, our guest from Shift Automotive. Chapin, thanks for joining us and explaining this. Again, give our listeners a place to go to find out more.
Yeah, that's shiftfortomorrow.org, shift, the number 4, tomorrow.org, or just Google Shift Car Recycling.
Chapin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.